Welcome back to Up the Villa. This is our predicted lineup for Aston Villa v Arsenal, 5:30 under the lights on Saturday. So on this episode, we're going to go really in depth on Arsenal. How do they play? What's their formation? Who's their key personnel? Key strengths, weaknesses. We're also going to predict the Villa lineup. We're then going to merge it together, and I'm going to show you how I think Aston Villa can beat Arsenal again. And again, and again. Right, so let's get into it then. So this is going to be a real difficult game. Arsenal are a fantastic team, coached very, very well. They play fantastic football. They're electric. They're lively. They play a possession-based game as well. They defend really well. They attack and defend set pieces superbly as well. So, it's going to be difficult. But I've seen enough in the games that Villa have played against Arsenal with Unai Emery that there is a blueprint. There is a way in which we can beat this Arsenal team. We've not only done it once, we've done it twice. But the second time, we did it playing fantastic football. And it was that killer edge football that did it for me. On the counter-attack, in transition, we've got players that can hurt this Arsenal team, and we've got players that can pose massive, massive questions. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing how we go about this game. I think it's going to be a great occasion for Villa. Under the lights, first home game. The crowd's going to be amazing. We're welcoming back our team after getting Champions League football. We get to see some of our new players as well. And it's a big test nice and early. You want to be playing these teams nice and early because there's no rhythm. They're not in a rhythm. And I think Villa psychologically can get in the minds of this Arsenal team as well, because I think a lot's going to be made of this game within the press. And I think Arteta's going to do the same, of putting a little bit more importance on this game. And I think Arsenal players, the fans will probably say otherwise, but they will be emotionally scarred from playing Aston Villa. We beat them twice last season. And when you know that you can beat the team that you're coming up against, it gives you that little bit of an edge. It gives you that little bit of belief, and everybody will be fully on board and engaged in Unai Emery's team talks this week. And also in the game, like permutations, like what if Villa go 1-0 up against Arsenal? In the back of some of their minds, they're going to be thinking, not again, not again. The fans are going to be thinking, not again. So as long as we stay in the game and we're relevant and we're doing well and we're posing problems, I have no doubt we can get something from this game. So let's go. Let's have a look at how Arsenal are going to set up and how Arsenal are going to play. So the big thing for Arsenal is their varieties, and they are difficult to predict on build-up. So we're going to start talking about the way that they build up, the way that they play from that possession-based game from goal kicks. So from goal kicks, what you'll see is you'll see Saliba and you'll see Gabriel going and meeting Raya. They'll be splitting and they'll be trying to get on the ball and play it from the back. The fullbacks will be going a little bit higher and they'll be staying nice and wide. They'll be offering that width as well. The big thing about Arsenal and what we've just said there is their variety and their unpredictability is what are they going to do in build-up? Now, in build-up, they'll either play with a 4-2, a 2-4, a 3-2 or a 3-1. And I'm not talking about the scoreline here, guys. I'm talking about players' positions. So what I mean by that is what you will see is you will see Gabriel, Saliba and White going in and making up that back three. If it becomes a 3-1, then it'll look like this. You'll have White, Saliba, Gabriel or Partey. If it's a 3-2, you'll see White, Saliba, Gabriel, Timber and Partey. That is a 3-2. If it's going to be like a 4-2, then you'll see something like this, an Odegaard or a Partey dropping in there. You might see a Declan Rice. And then that'll be the 4-2. So it can look like that as well. So I imagine that it will be more of the 3-2. The 3-2 or the 3-1 works against teams that are playing with a mid-block. And I've put Timber in there. We'll get on to why in a second when we merge the two teams together. But the one thing that will always stay the same with Arsenal is their back three. The White, Saliba and Gabriel partnership is something that will always stay the same. So we've got a quote here from Alex, who's going to be on the opposition preview this week. And he said that this is important to note. And he said this is important. That the rotations in build-up is what makes us so hard to play against. No one knows who to follow. Rice might pull out wide or stay high in the pocket. Odegaard might drop into the pivot to create an overload or stay high. The fullbacks can stay out wide or can come inside. Havertz will come inside and Saka and Martinelli will stay out wide. So in a nutshell, to best describe this then, what we've got is that Odegaard's position is vitally important. Odegaard's position is important because, like he's saying, the link up with Saka is important for the 1-2s, but it can also fill and drop into this pocket here. You'll often see Odegaard's heat maps are heavily around those areas. Rice's position is really interesting now because when he first went to Arsenal, if you remember, Partey wasn't playing and it was Declan Rice that was that deepest line player. He was heavy on the ball. He was in and around this area. But now Partey is back. You're starting to see Rice in this area, pulling out into these areas or getting into this zone through here. Havertz doesn't want to be here. Havertz won't want to be up against Pau, up against Carlos, up against Konsa, having a battle on the edge of the... You don't want to do that. So Havertz is going to drop into this pocket here. And he'll be playmaking in and around this area. But the big threat for Arsenal, which we all know about, is this one here and this one here. It complements their team so well because what it enables them to do and have is it enables them to have, let's get this little chart up here, what I'm trying to create here. It enables them to have structured control and shape. It enables them to have playmakers, movement, rotations, and then it enables them to have direct attacking intent, getting to bylines, beating a man, getting it onto your foot, hitting it in top bins like Saka does. So their system is so strong and so powerful, and it's vitally important that there's no rhythm and that this team can be disrupted. So that is generally their ideal playbook. What you'll generally find as well is that Saka can often sometimes come inside and White can be on that overlap through there. The right-hand side is vitally important because what you'll find is that you'll get a nice little playbook here. You'll get a little 1-2 here, 1-2, Saka's away, and that partnership is good. You've then got a problem. You know, your left back's got a problem because if he's 1v1 with Saka and then he's got a little overload from White as well, how do we react to that? So it's important that we are doubling up and we're making it vitally difficult out wide in those areas as well. So that is generally their play on what they're going to do and how they're going to attack and build up and what they're actually trying to do. Manchester United, interestingly, played with 4 central midfielders, and what Raya decided to do was go a little bit longer to the fullbacks as well. So if you do play with 4 midfielders, which Villa will do, they may go a little bit longer. That may entice them to get up the pitch a little bit quicker as well. But I think the big one, like I say, is that partnership with Saka, Odegaard, the 1-2s. Odegaard's position, you know, dropping into that sort of double pivot at times, and he might be coming a little bit deeper, getting up on the ball. Does a Villa player have to then go with Odegaard? Those are all of the difficult decisions that you have to make as well. So, yeah, final third, I've mentioned that as well. Ben White on those overlaps. You've got Havertz that will be dropping a little bit deeper, moving around as well. And Arteta is absolutely massive, and this is an area that I think Villa have got to be prepared to battle and fight, is Arteta is all about those duels. He wants to win absolutely every single duel on the pitch. And I think one player that is relishing the duels, whenever I watch Arsenal play, is Ben White. He absolutely loves a duel. So it's vitally important that We're winning our battles all over the pitch. But I think this is where our recruitment has come into its own, because we've brought players with physicality, with height, with a presence for these games particular as well. You look at Man City, look at the average height of their team. It's absolutely huge. And that's just by no fluke. That's not a fluke that's what their recruitment has done. And I think Villa are starting to go down that same path as well. So with the duels, there's a quote, and it was from the Amazon, when it said, "When I lost the duel, I was upset." And that was a quote from Arteta. He does get upset over quite a few things. So that kind of quote doesn't really surprise me. Arsenal aren't that great on transition. So Arsenal aren't great on transition. And they're coming up against a team that's very good on transition. So can we now start to see where the blueprint starts to be formed? Yeah? They're not great on transition. One area that they are absolutely incredible is set pieces. And this is an area that I think Villa will really want to test ourselves in. And I'm setting Villa a challenge. My challenge will be, can we not concede from a corner or a set piece against Arsenal? And I'll be so chuffed if we don't do this, because it will show me that we're getting in the right direction on these set pieces. I want to see Villa as good as Arsenal from set pieces this season. And McPhee is creative. He's really good. Defending against them is going to be very, very difficult. But I think with Onana in there, Konsa in there, Pau in there, Carlos potentially in there, I think we can deal with this really well. And I think why we can deal with this well is, if you look at this first initial phase of the set pieces, is that Ben White is always on the goalkeeper. Ben White always disrupts the goalkeeper. And I think with Martinez, he's too strong to do that. He's too clever to allow that to happen. So that's the first area that I think we should be okay. What you will see is you'll see a player that will go short, that he's ready to bring out a player. So you can see that's probably, might be Kudus. So you can see that a player's been brought out to mark Martinelli. And then you've got all of the players in a cluster at the back post. And that ball will go at the back post, or it'll go central. It'll go right in there. It'll go right in that 6-yard box. And it's how we deal with it. So I don't want to see us conceding from a set piece. They are really good at it. But I think we've got enough tactical awareness to be able to defend these set pieces. So that's an area that I really want to make sure that we are well prepared for. And I think some of our players, like Onana, will really be able to deal with this now. So it's going to be interesting to see how that one pans out. A little look at how they did play against Wolves. It wasn't a great performance from Arsenal. It wasn't their free-flowing, standout performance. You can see that a lot of the passes were in the middle of the pitch. So 40% of the passes in the game were in the middle of the pitch. You'd got 27% on the left. You've got 33% on the right. So, a lot of that game was in the middle of the park. And if it can be in the middle of the park on Saturday, I'll be really, really pleased. So here we've got the territory zones. You can see that the purple is where Aston Villa were comfortable with the ball against West Ham. You can see the pink is where the opposition had the ball against Villa. And you can see that the grey areas are the contested areas. As we go through the season, like last season, I would imagine that the purple for Villa will get higher and higher up the pitch. When we start having more games and the percentages are worked out, then Villa will be dominating that area of the pitch. You can see already that our possession-based football, that is an area that is starting to come into fruition this season as well. The pink on the opposition side, I'd probably like to see that a little bit more purple, just so we can sort of win that ball back higher up the pitch as well. The contested zones are okay, because that shows it's neither. It's them and us. So we were probably winning battles. They were winning battles as well. So that was quite pleasing. And then we've got Arsenal's. And I think this gives me a little bit of positives as well, because you can see that on the left-hand side, Wolves were getting more joy on the left-hand side. So as we go into Villa's tactics in a minute, the left back goes forward, actively acts as a winger. That's a plus. The right-hand side is pink and contested. So Bailey's side as well. And then you can see on the opposite side here, where it's pink in the middle of the goal, that's where Wolves were doing well with their possession-based football. So if we can do the same and build up to that halfway line, I think we're gonna pose them some real problems. If we just have a little look now, just at the heat map of the game against Wolves, just so we can see the average positions and the heat map, so we can see how their system looked against Wolves, and it'll probably merge a little bit with what I was talking about a little bit earlier on. So as you can see, we've got Ben White's position. We've got that three at the back there. So you've got White, you've got Saliba, and you've got Gabriel. You've got Partey in there, and you can see here now that they went for that 3-2 in build-up. So the 3-2 in build-up had Zinchenko and Partey. And then you've got the front five. You've got Saka getting to that sort of 18-yard box, penetrating into the box. On the opposite side, you've got Martinelli doing exactly the same. And then you've got that middle three of Odegaard, who's in an attacking area. You've got Rice supporting Martinelli. And then you look at Havertz dropping deeper, getting on the ball, playmaking, and then getting into the 18-yard box as well. So their system is really interesting. It's engaging, and it's going to be interesting to see how Villa set up and how Aston Villa play against Arsenal. So what we are going to do is we're actually going to go and have a look at how Aston Villa are going to set up and how Aston Villa are going to play. So predicted lineup time. Right, Villa fans at home, get involved. Drop your lineups in the comment section. Make sure you are subscribing to the channel, smashing a like. That helps massively. And just get on this journey with us. Hopefully you're all enjoying the content. There's a vast variety of content on this channel. We're doing so many different elements, different episodes to just keep it really exciting and fresh and interesting. So, predicted lineup, right, should we go? So, what I want you to do, drop your lineups in the comment section down below. Let's get into it then. Right, in goal, Emi Martinez, the world's best goalkeeper. Left back. Now, we've got a big decision to make here. And for me, it is a big decision because I'm toying with Maatsen. I really am toying with Maatsen. And the reason why I'm toying with Maatsen is because it's the first home game of the season. He's going to be coming up against Saka. And Maatsen, 1v1, is very good. He's quick. He can tackle. He can win the ball and drive forward. He can really attack Ben White. And I think it's an area that we can really hurt them. But it's a big call against Arsenal because Luka Dean played really well against West Ham. So do we just go, not safe, but we'll go with the option that we probably will go with. And I think it probably will be Digne. But I wouldn't be surprised if Maatsen's in there to 1v1 against Saka. Pau is going to be in there as well. And here's where the big decision is to be made as well. Cash looks like he's out because he's not in any training pictures and he went off injured, didn't he? So, big decision to make. Do you stick Nedeljkovic in this big game against Martinelli? I don't think we do that. So, Carlos comes back in and Konsa goes at right back. And I am super comfortable with this because Carlos's performances against these teams last season was incredible. Konsa can 1v1 defend against Martinelli. That gives me confidence as well. So I really like the look of this. That is the back five that I would go with. We're then going to put Onana in there. And then we're going to go with Yuri Tielemans in there as well. Tielemans, for me, is possibly one of our most important players in this game. John McGinn is going to go on the left-hand side for me. We're then going to go with Rodgers up top with Watkins. And we're going to go with Leon Bailey out wide. So a couple of subtle changes to the lineup. And this is going to be interesting. And it's going to be interesting to see how this game plays out. We could go with Maatsen, but would you make 2 changes to your back 5? I'm not so sure. We could, because we're a brilliantly coached side. So let's now go and have a look at how this is going to line up against Arsenal. So we'll put the Villa lineup in there now as well. So we'll go and have a look at how the 2 teams are going to line up. So Konsa at right back, Carlos in there, Pau in there. And then we'll just find Luke Dean and put Luke Dean at left back. Let's just move all these across so it just looks a little bit neater, a little bit more settled. We'll put Onana in there. We'll go with Tielemans. We've got McGinn on the left. We have got, I wish we did have Kamara. We've got Rodgers in there. We have got Bailey and Watkins. Right. How do Aston Villa hurt Arsenal? Well, we hurt them in a number of ways. And the ways in which we will hurt them is when they look to be set in this shape here. So we know that Arsenal are possibly going to have a lot of the ball. They're going to have the ball. They're going to want to get their patterns going. They're going to want to get their possession-based football going. But the big player in this game, the big player in this game for me, like I've just mentioned, is going to be Pau Torres and Yuri Tielemans. Pau's quick balls into Tielemans and on transition quickly into these players is going to be vitally important. We can hurt them. We can hurt them in transition. We can win the ball back and quickly get that ball forward. We've got 2 players who can run for days up top, that can stretch that back 3. Remember the game at the Emirates when Watkins had that opportunity early on and he was 1v1 with Gabriel and then he had his another one at the end of the game. Those are the areas, because Arsenal's shape, they will want to be coming onto Villa. They will be all in these advanced attacking areas and they will leave gaps and space for Villa to exploit. And that is the area I think we can do it. Tielemans, what I like about Tielemans is when he gets the ball, his head's up to go forward. He's always looking for those willing runners. He's always looking for those forward-thinking passes to play for his teammates. I think we've got to defend well. So what I want to see against Saka is, this is why I like McGinn on the left, because you've got Digne and McGinn that can be on that left-hand side as well. Onana, I imagine, is going to be in and around Declan Rice, stopping Rice from getting on the ball as well. Konsa, again, I think I love him on the right now, because what he's going to be able to do is he's going to be able to show Martinelli down there. If you can send Martinelli down that line, he's literally out of the game completely. Martinelli is a clinical finisher when he gets into these areas. When Martinelli's driving into that zone, you send Martinelli down that byline, he's done. He's done down there. So that's why I like Konsa. If we can catch Bailey in these little transition areas as well, 1v1 against Gabriel there. We've got Rodgers, Watkins, who's going to be that willing runner. We'll have McGinn that'll be getting forward as well. So I think if we can get the game going late as well, and then start bringing in ball-carrying players like Ramsey, who can run with the ball, then I think Philogene as well. We can be direct, we can keep the ball, we can drive with the ball, and we can pose massive problems. And I'm really excited because we're coming up against a really good team, and it's going to be interesting to see how this game plays out, how it develops. We know Emery's record's better against Arteta, so he's got the upper hand. He knows he can beat him, and I think we've got some real good players now that can really hurt this team. We're going to have to defend. We're going to have to defend well. We're going to have to be compact, but we've got the pace. We've got the pace to hurt them as well, so we can ask them massive questions. So it's going to be difficult, But if all comes together like it did twice last season, then we should get the victory in this game as well. So I think I've covered absolutely everything. A lot of you really enjoyed this episode last week, so hopefully you enjoy this one as well. Make sure you're doing everything that you should be doing on the episode, liking, commenting, subscribing. Cheers, everyone. Up the Villa. Next episode we will have is the opposition preview, so I'll see you all tomorrow.